order is going to be T, AC, counterplan, politics.
Can you say that one more time, Danny?
Yeah, sorry. T, AC,
Okay.
counterplan, politics. Okay, ready? Here's the macro level concern on T. Arjun says that his interpret allows for blank ballots, but not none of the above. But then the only argument he goes for is that abstention's core negative ground. That means that there's no actual net benefit to the interpretation, because then if he allows blank ballots, he still wouldn't get any ground, so there's no reason to vote for me. Extend the counter interpretation with Matzer that it's compulsory voting allows for the none of the above option. First, he says that the topic doesn't allow, say, CV, but they're so contextually related. It says voting ought to be compulsory. That's the only way of limiting down the topic, so we should consider the term of art. Second, he's defining voting, but in the context of making it compulsory, then I would still say that when we make it compulsory, we don't make it compulsory to pick a candidate, but we make it compulsory to turn out and have none of the above options, so compulsory is still relevant, and my card's the only thing that defines them together. Then he goes with the violation evidence, but extend the response of Krishna that's not indicatory of the topic literature, because it says what we will define for this specific study, which means it doesn't actually make a state about what most people say. So the only argument he goes for is ground argument, but that's totally not unique, because he's saying that he would still allow for blank ballots, but that means I get all the topic lit offense that I went for, saying that I'm most considered the topic literature because the term of art argument, and also because Matzer defines them together, and because Birch is actually saying what people are consistent with, whereas his own author says that many countries use this, and that I'm only defining it for a specific study. And topic lit outweighs the ground arguments, because all the ground arguments come from the topic literature, so we have to be with the topic. Also, topicalities are concerned with what's actually in the literature. So that's the best model of the resolution, even if there's some ground he loses. So I'm ahead on T because I'm the only one doing weighing and macro level comparison off the AC. He's conceding way too many arguments and only focusing on Chong and Oliver 2. The problem is extend Hill 1, alienation and deprivation are group norms that he can't solve for because there's cycles of deprivation, so people don't want to participate in politics, they don't feel they have any influence, and he concedes solvency with Hill 2. CV's the circuit breaker of this norm by changing laws. That's the only way to get them to act against that, which takes out the counterplan, because it's the only type of coercion which is necessary to get people to actually change the norms. Extend late part, this is conceded comparison to the counterplan that CV uniquely solves better than all alternatives and preferred because it's multivariate analysis, so it's likeliest to be true even if he's going for the consensus arguments. And Lever already show that I'm the one getting high turn and equal access to representation, whereas he's getting nothing. Then extend Chong and Oliver 2. CV empirically has less income inequality, as shown by the Gini coefficient. He goes for the consensus argument, but the problem is that there's no warrant for the consensus. Also call the cards, not talking about all the arguments in the literature, it's just talking about one set of papers published, and he's saying that I'm assuming it's strictly enforced, but the accuracy is strictly enforced. He doesn't explain why none of the above actually does that. You could look at the accuracy text, and I'm extending the arguments talking about the actual act. Then on the counterplan, extend the perm that I have automatic registration, and the net benefit is that I actually force people to vote, so it's guaranteed to have high turn. At the late part comparison and Hill 2 comparison means the counterplan goes away. Finally, off the dissect. It doesn't matter if he's extending the impacts, and if he's not answering the length. Send the first response that fiat means the act implemented immediately. He says that there's a trade-off. The problem is he's misunderstanding it. The time would go into the executive branch actually implementing the plan. It wouldn't go into Congress debating it, because I fiat that we go past the congressional debate, and that's what the actual link's about. That means there's zero link on the dissent, so the only actual offensive arguments come from the AC. Good round.